right, so we're going to go ahead and demonstrate one of the easiest tarp setups that I know of. In this scenario, we're kind of playing it out as if I was out here with my mom. We got a rainstorm coming in. I need to get a tarp set up as fast as I can, get some protection, right? Get out of the wind, get out of the rain, get some protection, make your home, right? That's really what we're trying to accomplish here. On this scenario, I'm going to be laying ley line across 2 trees. I'm going to be putting a tarp basically in an A-frame is what I'm going to be doing, and I'm going to be tarping it off. Super simple, super easy. Probably get this set up, you know, within a couple minutes. You're going to start learning your tarp, your ropes, your gear as you go, and you're going to kind of learn on where to set it up in a tree, and I'm going to explain that here in just a second of really what I'm talking about. Let's go ahead and get this scenario set up, and hopefully we'll have enough time. We could go do one of those fancy wazoo setups and have a cool little tent tarp. All right, so the gear that I brought with me on this scenario is pretty much what I would be carrying in a scenario of me going out for an overnight camping trip. I would have, you know, a little bit more, but this is the basics that I carry with me daily, really. All right, let's see here. So I have a light, this is going to be a medium to heavy thermal tarp. That one's a 5x7. Just a little hammock, you know, nothing special there. This is going to be my tarp, and I'm going to get into more detail why I picked this tarp. I have my coffee kettle, my backpack, and then I usually carry, it's just a hard plastic old emergency box, but this is what I carry all my fuel, my coffee, things like that. It's my tobacco can, but I carry my coffee in it. That's what I have in there, you know, my spoons, things like that. So we're going to go ahead and get this started up. One of the first things that we're going to do after we find our area to set up camp is we're going to go ahead and clear out all this brush, all these, everything, right? You want to make your home, make it a home, right? You want to feel safe, you want to be warm, you want to be, you know, out of the elements. You want to make it a little home. You want to make some coffee and be comfortable, right? You don't want to be freezing all night. So we're going to go ahead and take out all this little brush in here, smooth it on out. Then the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and put up our ley line, and I'll see if I could get my mom to start filming this here in just a second and do some scenarios. In this scenario, we're going to be setting up one of the easiest tarp rain setups that I know of. It's basically called the A-frame. It's going to be an A-frame, looks just like an A. We're going to be running this line, they call this the ley line. We're going to be running it in between 2 trees that we have here. Once you get into your gear and your, you know, your stuff, over time you're going to learn how it gets set up, right? Kind of the height, where you want it to be. These tarp scenarios, you could do a million different tarps. You could do, you know, the teepee, you could do the log cabin, you could do the roundhouse, you could do the wazoo, you know, Taj Mahal, whatever you want to build out, that's up to you. We always want to go back to the root cause and what we're trying to accomplish, right? If I was going to be spending the night out here, I'm going to want to set up a tent that's going to get me protected out of the wind, out of the rain, and it's going to get me some protection where I could do some cooking, get some good sleep in, you know, making my home. That's really what I'm doing. I'm going to make it as comfortable as I possibly can so I could get some good rest and some good sleep for the next day. Let's go ahead and get started up on this one. What I meant was you're going to learn your gear, right? So I know this tent, or this tarp that I'm going to be using is a 10x12. In that 10x12, I know if I set this rope at shoulder height, it's going to give me enough length to go out and build my A-frame. So in a scenario, we're saying the rain's coming in, we want to get this thing set up as fast as we can. We want to get my mom some protection. So let's go ahead and go. For my setup, I know if I'm shoulder height, it's going to be where I'm going to set up my tarp. Okay, this side, I'm not going to dive into you need to do a fucking Bowman knot, or you need to do a square knot, or you need to do whatever the hell kind of knot, right? Just tie a knot on this side. We're going to get over on this side, and this is where we're going to get a little bit more technical. All right. So you want to go ahead and get this line tight, right? Now if you sit here and you try to just tie a knot, you're not going to get it tight. It's going to be moving back and forth on you. So a quick little trick that I learned a long time ago, but this is a cool little trick. What you want to do is, you know you're not, you want to make it out here so this rope is going to pull back. So give yourself enough slack, tie in a little loop, just like that guy there, okay? Now bring your rope through that guy. Now it's putting tension on that rope now, so when you're pulling this way, it's pulling this rope tight and bringing this slack in, okay? Now, it doesn't have to be super tight because we're just doing a scenario. Go ahead and pinch off, loop it around, come back, and you could do a slip knot, right? Now you got a slip knot in there. It's going to be tight. Now when you're ready to go, pull your knot, you're good to go, right? So you want to get in and out, or whatever the scenario is. Let's go ahead and bring that tight again. Normally I have it on the other side, but I'm trying to do it this way for the camera. Super simple, right? Keep it simple, stupid, is kind of the name of the game around here. Alright, now that we have the tarp, we're going to go ahead and get that thrown over our line, right? Making this simple. Alright, now we got the rain fly over, right? Make your A-frame. You're basically going to go ahead and tie off your corners, right? And that's going to make your simple A-frame. Your simple A-frame setup now, you want to go ahead and stake off your corners, right? That's really it. That's your A-frame. That's going to get you out of the elements. That's going to get you out of the cold, the rain, whatever it is, right? That'll get you in. We want to go ahead, if I was going to set this up for, you know, that storm is coming in, I'd probably drop that rope down just another, you know, 8 inches, 10 inches. I don't want too much air coming up underneath this tarp. One thing you can do is, if you're going to set up your A-frame, is you want to go ahead and get it on down to the ground. You could go ahead and lay up some dirt or whatever you need on the edge there to go ahead and keep that wind coming out. Other thing on the A-frame, you can do a bunch of cool stuff on the A-frame. Like I said, this is going to be the most simplest form I know of setting up a real quick shelter. It does limit you in this setup of being able to close in the ends, right? You could get fancy, and yes, you could set this up a little bit different, and you could close off the ends, right? But in that scenario, I would set up another tent for the night. I like the ley line. Super quick, super easy, gets you out of the rain, get you some protection. You could get in under there, like I said with my mom earlier. We could both get up underneath there, get out of the wind, and we're pretty much protected. Let's go ahead and set up one other tent scenario, but we're not going to do the ley line because not everybody's going to be carrying. Doesn't have to be a rope, right? It could be 550 cord. It could be whatever cord you're using in your gear. So don't feel that you have to use the rope. I use the rope just because I carry that thing with me everywhere. Comes in handy. I use it. You make a ladder. I mean, you can make a ton of stuff out of those guys there. Let's go ahead and tear this thing down. I think we have just enough time where we can hope everybody goes and understands the rest of this concept, right? I mean, all we're going to do is stake off these four corners, stake off the middle there, get it all tied down, right? That's your simple A-frame. Let's go ahead and tear this down. We're going to go ahead and set up one more little tent scenario in this area. I'm not even sure what time it is right now, but I think that we have probably another half an hour or so, and we'll go ahead and set up one other scenario and go from there. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get this guy out of the way. pull our line down again. Like I said, this little slip knot's actually pretty cool. I've used this thing, I don't know how many times, but pop it out. It should pop out fairly easy. That one kind of looped up on me. And get your rope down. I'll go ahead and just get this out of the way for right now, because we're running out of time out here. So this tent scenario that we're going to do now is going to be a little bit, or a lot different. This one you can set up a ton of different ways on this one here. I'm not going to name off all the names on all of them, because we really rename everything ourselves, and that's why I call it the TV, the log cabin, you know, the roundabout, the Taj Mahal. You know, you can set this up where, you know, closed in the back, open in the front, you know, A-frame setup, or we could do a square setup, we could do the round setup, we could do a million different things. And that's the thing that I'm just really trying to get across here. You need to look at your scenario, and every scenario is going to be different. Every place is going to be different. Every environment is going to be different. You know, do we have rain? Do we got snow? What do we got coming in, right? And that's how you want to be thinking when you're setting up your scenario. If I was out here on my own and I was going to be doing a overnight trip, I'd be setting this thing up, you know, airtight, as tight as I could. I'd be setting up the best scenario I could to be as safe as I possibly could, to get the best rest I can, so I could be ready to go the next day. And that's the name of the game, right? So let's go ahead and we're going to set up the second tarp. Well, second tent scenario is what I should say. I'll get into my gear, you know, another time, and I'll do a whole list of my gear. Let's go ahead and get this guy set up. So this tent is going to be a 10 by 12 tarp. We're going to bring this guy out. Go ahead and lay it flat on how you want it set up. I'm going to set this scenario up as having the opening on this side. And what I'm going to do is a kind of a, call it a lean-to if you want. So basically the back of the tarp is going to be staked down. And this one we're going to be using our walking sticks to set up our tent. Right? So to give you a brief idea of what this guy is going to look like, and I'll do the simple square one first, and then from there you can really deviate and you can make a ton of different ones. But really, you get the square down first, get to know your gear, everything will start coming together fairly easy. Okay, so think of this scenario of, and you could do this with the rope also. You tied your rope off at the base of the tree or whatever, staked it down in the ground, ran it up to a tree, right? We're doing the lean-to. So you could do the rope. We're going to go ahead and stake this one down. We're going to use our walking stick in one scenario, and we're going to do kind of the lean-to with the opening of the door facing the scenery that we want to see. And when we wake up in the morning and we're sipping our coffee, we want to be seeing the whole view. I'm kind of joking when I say that, but you want to be looking at which way the wind's coming in, right? You want to close off the back end. If you got a storm coming in, close that off. Keep your front open so you could be doing your cooking, restroom, whatever you need to be doing. You could get in and out on your trail. Get on back, you need to hunker down and close the front end, close that down, and now you got your whole scenario set up, right? So let's go ahead and get into how. Alright, so on this one we're going to start off with staking the back of the tent, right? We're going to go ahead and we'll do three of them. We'll do the three corners, or the two corners in the middle is what we're going to do on this one. You want to go ahead and stake them down first. pretty soft in here, so don't have to worry about too much. Alright, go ahead and square it out nice and straight. You got a cool little hammer or whatever, you know, use what you got. Right, we'll go ahead and stake this middle one while we're here. Try not to lose all your stakes flying out of your pocket like that. Old all-purpose hammer right here. All right, so now we got the back stake down, pretty straight, a little crooked, but I ain't worried about that right now. All right, so this gets to be a little bit of the tricky part, right? You want to go ahead and set up how high you want this thing to be, right? Your entry point, your exit point, right? You want to be able to give yourself enough room in that tarp, but your highest point is going to be here. I'll give you the example, right? Now your back is staked down. This is coming up, right? That's what's going to be holding this. And this is where it gets tricky, I'll be honest with you. Because now, you got to run a line from here to the ground to hold all this straight. When you're doing that, this thing's going to want to go all over the place, right? But I don't want to go ahead and stake these guys down just yet, because I want to show a couple different scenarios we could do here. But we're going to go ahead and grab some of your cool little line you got, you know. Run it through your loop, and there's a million different ways you could do all this, and I don't want to dive into I never want to be that person where you have to do it this way, you have to do it that way. To me, if somebody tells me that, they can kiss my ass. I'll do it however I'm gonna do it, right? So I really just try to focus on the key points, right? And the key point right here that you're gonna have the most trouble is trying to get this thing tied down. So I have my strings already tied off in little loops to kind of make things a little bit easier for me. And when you start getting your gear set up, you know, it'll be just as easy to go ahead and run your loop through, right? Not too sure if you guys can see that, but it tied off pretty quick, right? So if you notice, this thing's flopping all over the place, and that's what happens when you try to do this part right here. So we're gonna come on down as straight as we can. Go ahead and drive that guy in. I'm running into a lot of roots right here. It's what's happening. Tree roots are. All right, so now it's starting to take shape, right? You got your back corners down, you got your front corners down, you got your pole set in, right? So now you have your doors. If you want to have a door in the front, now you got doors you could close off, right? During the day, you could bring this pole in a little bit more so this drops down. You have a million different scenarios that you could start playing around with this one, right? It's going to give you plenty of room to come on in here and see how the tarp is hanging down here on the sides now. That's what you want to start working on next. So now we're completely closed in. We got our little door, comes out, you know, nice little scenery in the morning. I would start staking this down, you know, if we're gonna finish this off. Go ahead and stake off your other points. And what I'm gonna do here is this line, I'm gonna come up to the tree. And that's what's gonna give us a little bit more room in the tent, right? So I have some extra anchor points here that I could go ahead and start bringing this thing up a lot more, bringing it in tight, getting all this little slack out of here, right? This would be the scenario of setting up a tent where I would kind of be on my own, and I would set something up like this. This would be a quick one for me to get out of the elements and get in and get some shelter. Like I said, it's not done. I mean, it's loose as can be right now, but this gives you the basic concept of coming out, exploring, setting up, and learning something new, right? And that's really what I'm trying to get across, is come on out, have some fun, learn something new, and practice. Practice. What's it gonna hurt you to practice, right? Come up with the new tent. From this scenario here, we could start making some really cool shit, actually, to be honest with you. So instead of these corners back here, you would stake off your first one in. First one in, you would stake there. This guy would come out and tuck up under the tent, right? And that's how you're gonna start making your octagon, is what you're gonna do. So many scenarios you could do with this guy, you could have some fun with. All right, I hope this gives you guys some ideas, some different ideas, you know, or if this is your first time coming out setting up a tarp tent or whatever it is, you know. You want to come on out, just get comfortable with things, you know, learn something new. I hope you guys enjoyed this scenario. We're gonna hopefully do a couple more here maybe next week and set up some different types of tents and getting into a little bit more detail, and I'll finish them off. We're just running out of time today. The sun's dropping on us in the background there, so we're gonna go ahead and pick on up and call it out for a day. Thank you for joining us. Don't be afraid to get on out, get a little dirty, and have some fun. Always do, before I leave a campsite, it's always leave no trace, right? This one you're gonna leave a little bit of trace because I did a scrape and I scraped all the dirt off. But you really want to just go back, always look through again, make sure you didn't leave any of your strings, your ropes, your stakes, anything. I highly recommend doing that because I don't know how many times I've left stuff out here.